Hey, it's Jack from Alphacharts with a state of the market video. Today is May 10th, 2025. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. And I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. All right, thank you all for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, follow me on X at Alphacharts365. I post things there all the time. I also have a subscriber group. We've talked about this before, but it's $10 a month. You get a ton of content coming through. Today we're doing a live stream for subscribers, chart requests, market questions, things of that nature. No contracts, it's month to month. It's a very inexpensive solution to help you along your journey, especially if you're newer to trading or just need that second idea generator. That's kind of what I do. So anyway, check it out. Click on the link. If you're a YouTube only watcher, I also have exactly the same video content. Also, I share the trade setups here. You see the most recent one. Actually, I think I talked about the live stream. Yeah, there's a live stream. Anyway, I post for members here. I have all the videos listed there for members. So there's a ton of content coming through on the YouTube only. Click that join button right there. Let's get into the markets. The question I have is this a big rounding top, a giant rounding top for a bigger move lower, or did we just kind of retest the breakout when we go to the weekly chart? Retest the breakout, and then we're going to be moving higher. And I think that the latter is the more likely case, is that we retested the breakout. Hopes I get this volume right. And if you see, even in the volume, I'll take this arrow out of here. It seems like there's been much more accumulation on this side of the base, um, which is right on with what we've been talking about. We've also talked about these higher lows that so far have held very nicely. Again, I'm going to get these arrows out of the way so we can see them better. We talk about this higher low from here relative to here. Then we talk about this higher low relative to this one. And then we talked about this gap fill. And those were very, very important. Now we have moving averages that are starting to, again, we're going to zoom in a little bit more here using deep view. By the way, this charting software is Deep View. I also use it for my scanning. 99% of my scanning comes from Deep View. Really powerful software. Go to, I guess, deepview.com if you're interested in that. Um, but yeah, so we have a nice little kind of consolidation right here this past week, did the gap fill, held the spot. Now we have our moving averages starting to align more bullishly, even though price is still underneath the 200-day, flat 200-day. And when we go back 50 days ago, we're going back to here, right? So next week, when we do that, when we do that, right, that's 50 bars. We're going to be taking out one, two, three, four. We'll be right here. So that 50-day moving average is going to be very, very flat as long as price stays above it, right? It'll be very, very flat probably by the end of next week. And these shorter-term moving averages should be above it. And potentially price will be either above or right at that 200-day, depending on how the week goes, right? But a flat to 50-day, again, is a healing 50-day. And I think that's a big deal. So those are all positives that are coming in the market. Now on the week, yeah, and again, this looks like it could be some sort of inverse head and shoulders. We've seen that on a lot of charts as well. But on the week here, price was down 0.43 in the week. And I think it was just really a consolidation week. On the RSP, the equal weights, price was up zero point 0.4. So you see buyers showed up on the week. And equal weight, again, has that kind of, you know, spot, right? Right at the 200-day. This 175.75 area, 176 area. That's going to be a big spot and a big test for the market when price gets up there on the RSP. But nice to see the equal weights were outperforming cap weighted. Here's the Qs. Again, has that kind of inverse head and shoulder. I kind of drew out here. We were expecting this pullback right at the 200-day. Couldn't really get above it yet. The first couple of tests failed. I'm going to take this arrow out just so we can see this a little bit better. But I love how the 23-day now has crossed the 50. 50 is actually starting to flatten already on the Qs. That's good to see. Again, a lot of positives. Got a little bit ahead of itself. That's fine. Um, but a lot of positives happening again, and we're going to be going back to here. So think about this. One, two, three, four, five, and the 50 will be very, very flat and potentially starting to curl up by the end of next week as long as price stays below it. Um, yeah, so it's okay. If you thought the market was going down, again, we're at a test, the 200 day, but if anything above 493, 494, you gotta be long this market, I think. Because it's a healing market. It looks like a base, looks like the right side of a base being formed. On the week, Qs were down 0.18, so barely, about even, right? Consolidation. And equal weights were up zero point 0.6, and they're above 90. And 90's been a spot we've watched. Again, you can see back here, from this cup and handle right here, that was a big spot right around this 90 area. And then, it came all the way up almost to 100, came back all the way down, but then 90 was always a special area, and the equated Qs. And we're right there. Again, did exactly what we were hoping for because it got extended. And we have the bullishly aligning moving averages. I don't need these arrows anymore. And things are looking really good. Mid caps. Again, this is just same idea. Same idea. It's a healing market. Um, Very, very similar. We'll just look at the weekly on the mid caps. They were up 0.49. Small caps were up 0.16, so basically flattish. But again, has that Healy look. Small caps being the worst of the bunch, and they've been laggards for as long as I can remember. So very, very long time. Looking at the financials, this was one of the first clues that the market was healing. Was it broke down from a head and shoulders top, very bearish look, and then it came right back. Very bullish reaction to that breakdown, um, above all the moving averages, and they are starting to align bullishly faster than everything else, really. SMH, let's just see what the weekly was. So financials were up a little bit on the week. SMH was up 2% on the week. Very strong on SMH. And you can see they recovered very nicely from here. And again, there's your flattening 50 day. We talked about that quite a bit. Equal weights were up all week as well, and they were up 3.23. Again, I love the outperformance on the equal weights. Super strong, above their levels. It looks good. IYT above the 50-day now. That's good to see. I was a little worried as they were kind of hanging up below there for a while. On the week, they were up 0.5%. XTN, which I feel is more important than IYT, was up 2.5%. Really great outperformance. Love that. And when we see it on the daily, again, above the 50-day, it had me a little concerned as it wasn't getting above it. It still has a level to take out, right? The $75 or so level. But again, it's positive work into it. Is it a retest from the bottom? There's always that possibility. But right now, we have to say it's positive price action. ITB, you want, the problem child, it's going to be housing. Housing's the problem child, right? So far, it's not really playing along, but we do have a very tight moving averages here on housing. So a small move in price will either retake the 50 or completely fall apart from this kind of wedgy look up here. On the weekly chart, you can see they were down 1.72. So housing's in trouble. Whether it spills over to the other parts of and causes this, is a precursor to the stock market going down, it remains to be seen, but housing's still an issue. XHB looks basically the same, even though it is above the 50-day. It's right there near all the price action. So we'll see on that one. And then MAGs. The MAG 7, had a bear flag. It broke down, touched, went right where we would expect it to go, which is right into this area right there. Recovered nicely. Has that inverse head and shoulder esque look to it. And as it comes back around and these moving averages start to, 50 days starts to flatten next week, which is again exactly what we would expect. And it comes back around and retakes hopefully 49-ish, and breaks above, maybe 50. Then that would be, I mean, the market, it'd be very hard for the markets to go down if the Mag 7 are going up, right? Especially with what we've seen in the equal weights so far. It was really, really positive. The Mag 7 were down 0.31, so very similar to like what the SPY did, and I think Qs were down a little bit in there too. So you see, but the equal weights really carried it, and that speaks to the breadth of the market improving, and that's a really, really nice thing to see. Is the breadth improving? All right. Um, if you haven't done so, check me out on X at Alphacharts365. Click on that subscribe. I do so much more for my subscribers as far as going into internals on the market. We do weekly watch lists. We do focus lists, annotated charts. Like I said, we're doing a live stream today. So, it's month to month. So there's not much downside risk to you. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.